I actually enjoyed um, these videos a lot. Like considering that they were done in, I think, 2019, the relevance of them and the up to dateness of all of them is really kind of cool. Like talking about millennials and videos and the use of videos and um, all of the different things as they went through the process. So I wanted to make sure that that we talked a little bit today about what you got from week 9, but also I feel like I've probably been lacking a little bit in challenging you to tell me what you've done from the assignments. In other words, what have you changed? What things have you done? Have you made calls to your top 50? Is your business plan complete? I mean, if you look, we had the first time we did this call, we had over 60 people, and today we have 11, right? So it's indicative of normal. This isn't shocking to me. I remember when I was first a coach and a speaker, I'd be all disappointed. And now I know it's just human nature. I don't have any control over that. I have a team myself, as you know, and I am a real estate agent. I'm not better than you and I'm not worse than you. I'm just another human being going through life and being a real estate agent. And what I mean by that is it's just as challenging for me as it is for anybody else to do lead generation, to follow a process and a system, because it's even harder for me because I have a very low C in the DISC scale. I have a very low C, which means I'm really anti-establishment. I like to go my own way. I like to do my own things. I don't want everybody to say, well, this is the way it's worked really well. Just follow them, and I'm like, I'll show you, I'll do it my way. That's not always very effective. Sometimes just going with the way people tell you to do it works out really good. And I've seen that a lot. When I first started recruiting for EXP, I was like, I'll do it my way, right? And I wasn't getting the great results. And I finally started following my wife's system. Like, I've been a recruiting coach for my whole life. Well, what I was coaching on wasn't working in EXP because it was a different process and a different system. So as I'm listening to these videos all over again, having gone through RAMP when we wrote it at Workman Success and all of those things, all of those have been, really, really effective in terms of us moving things forward, both in selling more homes as a team and recruiting more people to the team. So, all right. So since there's only 11 of us, why don't we go around and say, what have you done using what you've learned that has worked for you? So, Ryan, we know about your original story. Do you want to tell us about anything else that's worked for you since we started this?
Sure. So I think recently what's been working for me is just been very consistent follow-up. So I had a bad problem when I started of just like having too many people I was trying to create tasks for and follow up with, and I was kind of getting overwhelmed by it. So now I've been just kind of doing a short list. So similar idea to the top 50 of like our contacts or like our like close database. I've been doing kind of the same thing for like all my leads, and then just like grinding through them. And I'm getting a lot more conversations going and a lot of success through just like being top of mind.
Well, that's awesome. And how has all of this, watching these videos, and I'm a big fan of the wrap up video from Burl, even though he's a little hypey. I like the wrap up. It reviews everything pretty well. How has the whole 9 weeks and then watching the videos, watching the recaps affected your mindset overall about your business? And Carolyn, you can jump in on that also, because I know you guys, hold each other accountable, et cetera.
So I think the videos and all this, if anything, has just kept it all in the forefront. So it's like remembering the fundamentals, and it's almost like role play. It's like watching the videos is like practice of like, oh yeah, that's how I'm supposed to be doing my buyer consultation. Oh yeah, those are the pieces I should be prepping for my listing presentation. And it's just like keeping it in the forefront of my thought, and like the daily habit tracker, I think, has been a really good tool coming out of this, and just like, here's the things I need to be doing, and just check in with them.
Well, and that's really important. And if you like, there's so many things on the top 50 that they gave us to down, like there's the top 50 initiative, there's all of those. There's the tracker, the top 50 tracker, there's the lead tracker. There's a lot to put your arms around. But yeah, I mean, having a sense of that, I think I shared with you on this call way back when I used to have 2 little metal boxes, seriously, 3x5 card metal boxes when I first started in real estate. And one had January through December, right? And then the other one had 1 through 31. Okay. So I would move that month over, move the January card over and put it in front of the 1 through 31. And then as I would use that as my follow-up. So today was today's the 29th. I go in, I grab out all my reminder cards for the 29th and I do it. You don't need to have technology, but technology helps us do that quicker. Whatever it takes, set reminders, set phone calls, whatever it is, you got to do it. Like whatever, your faults and demons, so you account for them with your system. So Carolyn, were you going to say something there?
Yeah, actually, it goes right off of the last thing you said, is that the past 9 weeks, I think the biggest impact is just us looking at our systems and the processes we have in place. And this RAMP program is such a good, like, little chunk of each thing that you have to do and be responsible for as an agent. So I think it's a great outline of what you need to provide for onboarding agents. And to me, it's like even the don't be a furniture at closing checklist makes me go over the checklist that we give out for closing and like, are we missing something that's not on here? So a lot of refinement.
Well, and I have an objection about, even though I thought the title "Don't Be Furniture at a Closing" was hilarious, it's really geared to a lot of states other than California, because most of our closings we don't all go into the same time and swap keys and sign papers. We actually sign the documents a lot ahead of the closing, and then the closing gets recorded.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the whole checklist thing was very valuable, from everything from what was Tammy saying, make sure that the utilities have been changed. There's so many tiny things that need to be systematized. Like maybe you have a sheet, right? The questionnaire form that my assistant Gina created, so that when I went to a listing appointment, I would not forget to ask all these questions about, is your water heater strapped? Is there smoke detectors? Is there carbon monoxide detectors? Do you have solar? Is it leased or owned? And all these things, that if it's a condominium, God, if it was condominium, we have 3 pages of questions for them, like what do you get for your dues? What's covered, what's not. So all of those things are reminders. And what I love about this is, even though Workman Success System has done this RAMP video and it goes into 50 states and the country of Canada, it doesn't matter if it doesn't match your style of what you guys do in your state or in your area. What it does is it reminds you that, oh my God, I have to systematize everything. Right?
Exactly. That's exactly it. Yep.
So yeah, thank you for that. Now, does Carolyn, do you have anything you want to add about how it's affected you or what results you've gotten?
I will say I am not a door knocker. And we've got a new listing and we are going to go door knocking for it today. And I remember, I think when I saw you and Casey do your talk, you were the one who said, like, how dare you think everyone's like you? And just because you don't like someone to knock on your door doesn't mean everyone else doesn't. And that is really stuck in my head. And Ryan says it, and we talk about that a lot. So
where was that, Carolyn? I know it was somewhere in person, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was up in like Oceanside area.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I got really adamant, didn't I?
Yes, you did. And you were like, I door knock. And it just, so I'm going to take that mentality with me today.
Good. So you guys you have gotten a listing, is what you're saying?
Yes.
And now, is this your buddy?
No, this one is from my top 50.
Okay. So the main thing that so do you have an idea of what you're going to say yet? Let's just give this a lesson for everybody right now.
Yes, I honestly, the area gets door knocked a lot, and I was wanting to approach this one as, hey, do you know any like friends or family members who want to be your neighbor who are looking to move in this area?
Right.
Is kind of my opening line.
Okay. Well, is there a lot of other listings in that area right now?
No, in the hyper local part of it, absolutely not.
Okay, good. So I'd like to stand up to do this, but I'm not going to, because if I stand up, you'll be looking at my waist, not at me. So
Sure.
what I do is, like, first and foremost, I'm going to back up. I like to be animated in front of a door. I've knocked on more thousands of doors than I can count. I like to be animated. So what I do is when I knock on the door, I take a couple of steps back. I've been doing that long before COVID, guys, like for 30 years. I take a couple steps back so that if they're looking in the eye thing, they can see me, right? I like to have my realtor tag on, or something that says real estate, so they know I'm not whatever I might be. Okay. I'm my wife, Casey, is born and raised a Jehovah's Witness, and she was started door knocking with the Bible at 6 years old. So when she got into real estate for a few years, think how easy door knocking was for her.
Yeah.
She goes, this is nothing. I get to talk about real estate instead of the Bible. They'll love me, right? So she was really good at door knocking when she came into real estate. But what you're going to say is, one of the things I like doing when there's really low inventory is I go, oh, hi, my name's Rick. I'm a real estate agent. I just wanted to make sure you noticed what was going on, and I'll do this. There's nothing for sale in this area. And we're super excited because we're bringing a listing onto the market. Or if you it already up.
Yeah, it just went up.
Yeah. Or we just listed a home around the corner for one of your neighbors. Now, we're not just realtors, we're your neighbors also. We love this area. But I got to tell you, you know what's going to happen with this? There's going to be 4 or 5 or maybe even 6 buyers that put offers on them. And then it's going to be gone. And do you know what that means for you? And then I stare. Guess what? They hardly ever answer, even if I stare at them. It means that there'll be 5 other buyers still looking for a home in this market, and there won't be any for sale. And what that means for you, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, is that your home price is still elevating, which is amazing. Now, I've noticed from your home that it looks beautiful. You're probably loving it here. And that's when they'll start getting engaged, right? You'll say, great. We're going to need more homes to cover the number of buyers that come after this home we've listed who won't win it. Do you know of anybody else in this neighborhood right now? And use your hands, like be animated, that's thinking about selling their home right now? And most of the time they're going to say no. And you go, oh my gosh, thank you for answering. I really appreciate that. Listen, when are you selling? Okay. What disarms the people is when you ask about someone else. That disarms them. Oh, they're not asking me. Do you know anyone else in the neighborhood that's currently thinking of selling their home? That disarms them. And then you're quickly going, thanks so much for answering. That's so nice of you. Listen, when are you selling? Okay.
That was great.
That changes their shift. That, by the way, that's an old Mike Ferry system. I learned that in the 80s, right? Is because you're switching their mind quickly from being talking about someone else to talking about them. Oh, no, we love this neighborhood. We're never leaving. You know, I joked around. We used to have people saying, I'm not coming out of this house unless they take me out in a box. And then I would say, I can arrange that. But the point is that, and remember, there's no right or wrong. There's not my way, your way. It's whatever ends up working for you. And you're going to get doors slammed in your face, and you're going to try something else. You're going to say, oh, let's try this. You know, hey, we just listed a home in your neighborhood and the prices are going up like crazy. Do you know anybody that's thinking about wanting to move into this area? Maybe one of your friends or relatives, you know, that's another one that you just said you were going to use. It's all good. But guess what the biggest difference is? Enthusiasm.
Yeah.
All right. You're going to, you know, I joked around, but I'm not kidding. It's usually every time I go door knocking, my right knee still shakes for the first 10 or 12 doors. And I don't know, as soon as I get past 10 or 12 doors, I'm calm, I'm feeling good. You know, I'm starting to be in the old, I'm a 42-year veteran in the real estate industry. Shit, there's nothing I don't know, you know, whatever. I get back into that confidence, right? So the other thing that helps me out a lot, Carolyn, is when I take somebody newer into the business out door knocking with me. And when I do that, then I have to, right? I got to really step up and bring
Mhm.
the in because they're watching me. I told a story once about a girl that I took door knocking. She's still a really good friend of mine. She hadn't door knocked. And she said she'd been passing out stuff at doors, but never knocked on the door for years. And I said, wow, you're missing out. So I took her door knocking, and our third door, the guy slammed the door, like opened it, saw who we were, and went, and he was huge, like he covered the doorway. And I looked at her face and just started laughing because her face was like you had slapped her. And I started laughing, and she's smaller than me. And she looked up at me. She goes, what is so damn funny? I said, your reaction to him slamming the door. And she goes, that was rude. I said, no, it wasn't. It just was. It wasn't anything. It wasn't good, bad, right, or wrong. It wasn't rude. It was just his reaction. Let's go to the next door. Right? Instead, she was like so hung up on what happened. And she goes, I can't believe you're laughing at me. I said, I'm not laughing at you. Said I'm laughing at how you froze. And I said, this is nothing to get personal about. People are going to like you, people are not going to like you. You're only looking for the ones who do and want to engage with you about real estate. So anyway, I'm happy you guys are doing it. And Carolyn, I would really love if you and Ryan would remember to tell us your results. Now, have you guys door knocked before?
Together only once, but yes, for our Ryan's gone a couple different times.
Okay.
I went door knocking around our last listing.
Okay.
I said I went door knocking around the last listing we had. It's my
Okay.
job.
Yeah. Well, the reason I ask is that when two people go together, they seem to disarm people more. It's less threatening, especially when it's a male and a female and that kind of thing or whatever. I just think that having more than one person is always beneficial, and then the other people can jump in. The one thing that I wanted to say about it is the more often you do it, the more confidence you get. But what I keep track of is number of doors I knocked on, number of doors answered, and number of conversations. If I have a conversation, and a conversation is more than here's my flyer and they shut the door. An actual conversation, like what we just talked about, then I write down the address of the conversation so that I can look up the tax roll and send them a handwritten note. Okay, this is time consuming, the maintenance of the handwritten note. You get back, you've got the address, you look it up on the tax roll. Dear Mr. or Mrs. Thompson, it was great knocking on your door today, getting to know you a little bit. You guys, this will take you to places you might not ever imagine. So it's very good to follow up like that if and when you can. And then if you're going to keep farming the same area, then start a file. Like one of the things I like to do before I go out is have the comps the last 6 months or even the last year for that neighborhood, and just have them on a clipboard while you're walking around, so that if they ask you a question about something that happened, you don't necessarily have to leave them something, but you also don't have to get on your device. You can just flip to what you have on your clipboard and say, oh yeah, that sold. Because people say, oh, my neighbor, you know how many times, hundreds of times I've had this happen? They go, yeah, my neighbor down the street just sold a couple months ago. And you'll look it up and it was a year ago. And I like, a couple of months? It was November of 1914. What are you talking about? Like they have that memory that it just happened when it didn't. So if you have just the last year, especially just in the immediate neighborhood, it's not that hard to have a year's worth in a neighborhood that you're going to door knock, because you're usually going to door knock 100 to 300 homes. That's not that big of a deal. So, so having more information and being quick with your responses, not that you have to know everything. Nope, don't have that one memorized, but I'll get that to you. In fact, I'll get it over to you tomorrow, right? And then you drop it off later that night or something like that. Under promise and over deliver. All right, is that good, Carolyn and Ryan?
Really good, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, who wants to piggyback off that and share some things with me? Valerie, I thought you might say something because you unmuted yourself. How are you?
I'm good. So I think I'm joining this like very late.
Okay.
Sounds like, I don't know, Rosie added it on my calendar, so I don't know what I've missed.
Okay, well, let me ask you, where are you physically, geographically?
I'm in Redlands.
Oh, nice. Okay, I'm going to be in Redlands talking on November 18th in the afternoon
Where?
at Joseph Trujillo's office.
Oh, the new one. Okay.
Don't know.
Very nice.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, other than that, I don't know what I've missed.
okay.
Um,
So we're part of a program called RAMP that you can sign up for on empirebuilders.pro. Did you do that?
I did not. I think somebody in Rosie's office did it for me. She did briefly mentioned it, but I don't know what this is all entailing. I mean, it sounds wonderful and I love you and, so just kind of tell me where I'm at. I've been with Rosie's team now for 5 months,
Oh, okay.
since I've joined EXP.
All right. So, yeah, so what we're on week 9 of 12 weeks. And I love for people to jump in because there's no necessary order. And then we're going to start it again on January 3rd. This one should finish right about December 3rd, every Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific, except the Friday after Thanksgiving. Okay.
Okay.
And each week there's about 5 to 7 videos that you watch during the week. We prefer you watch one a day or a couple a day so that you've got them all done by today's call. And then this week's was about, so what we're doing, in fact, it doesn't matter what weeks 9 were about. What we're discussing is over the 9 weeks, there's been a lot of homework and things to do. And I'm asking what people have been getting out of it. So Ryan, that handsome, recently married man, he did what was told to do in week 1 or 2 and picked up $2 or $3 million, or at least $2 million worth of business. And by just calling people in his database, right? So everything comes with an assignment. So I'm going to ask you to, are you familiar? How many of you guys have really messed around with empirebuilders.pro besides just getting on there to get to the ramp stuff? Anyone?
I tell people to go to the like step-by-step walkthrough when they join EXP because you have all the like reference links there.
Yes, that's really good. And I do want to acknowledge, I'm not going to apologize, but I am going to acknowledge that I am much more casually dressed than I usually am, only because I got started super early today. So I thought you guys love me whether I dress up or not. So anyway, wasn't that arrogant of me? Don't you love that?
It's perfect. We do.
All right, so let me just show you something really quickly, and I'm going to put empirebuilders.pro. Okay, so you know how Valerie things are empire, .com or .us or .net. This is .pro. So empirebuilders.pro, and this is what the website looks like right here. I'm sharing my screen. So this, if they paid, you would have had to pay the $149 to get this link for this call, but you say maybe Rosie did it for you. So if you click on Mastery Coaching right here, I'll show you what happens. You click on Mastery Coaching and then you sign up and you get access to these 4 programs. See these big blue programs? Ramp has 65 videos that we're going through. Slam has another 60 or something. BAM has 16. And AMP has 70 or so, 75. And these are video training programs for every aspect of being a successful real estate agent. What we're doing on these calls is only RAMP, because RAMP is a kick in the butt for experienced agents, okay? And it's a start to finish program for new agents. The idea behind RAMP is to add 2 closings per month to what you're already doing. And if you're not doing anything, it's to get you to 2 closings a month. Most people will make a buttload of money if they just can do 24 deals a year, especially in the price ranges we have in California. No matter where you are, whether it's Redlands or San Francisco, the prices are still decent enough to make a good living selling 24 homes a year. All right. So we're on week 9 of RAMP. You go in here, but empirebuilders.pro, like Carolyn was just referring to, we have all kinds of resources on here. If you want to learn to attract or recruit agents, it's right here. My wife is in charge of that. She's an amazing coach. Have any of you been part of Builders Boot Camp? Okay. Manny, were you saying something, buddy?
I think I was in there. I can't remember now. I've been through a lot of the different options here in addition to the ramp. And what I like to say about the ramp is, the first week I think was very intense. There were a lot of videos, a lot of time to go through it. But since then, every week has been really short. I usually get it done in one session, go through the whole week's worth, and it's very informative. It reinforces what I already know I'm doing or should be doing.
Yeah.
So I find that valuable in itself.
Yeah, other than week 1 and 2, it usually takes less than an hour to watch all 5 videos. Or all
So
6.
I guess what I'm saying is, Valerie, if she wanted to start with week 1, that would be the week 1 and 2 would be the most intense,
Yeah.
but she could probably catch up by week 12.
Yeah.
Or wait till January to start it from the beginning.
Yeah, but I wouldn't. In fact, I tell people, I don't care if you've already gone through it, you just keep going through it. If any of you are from KW in the past, they used to have this thing called Bold, and people would take Bold 8, 9, 10, 12 times. Every time it would come to their community, it was 8 weeks, $800, and they'd pay for it because it got them back into the habits that they started to do and then dropped off. So Ramp's going to be the same thing, that if you're doing all those things, you're going to sell houses, guys, like really. So I would play around on empirebuilders.pro. And that's the thing I want you all to do, is spread the word about this to the people in EXP around you. EXP and our organization. So whether they're your sideline or your downline, we don't like using those terms, but people that might be sponsored by the same person as you, they all have access to this. Okay. Anyway, so it's really been very helpful to me and a lot of people. But your resources, like here, if you go to resources, I do a lot of training calls on the 1st and 3rd weeks of the month for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. So you might say, how can I get on? Right there, you click on that, it gives you the link to go to the call. Here's a guest pass to give to your client, to your prospects for EXP World, information about healthcare, information about stock, all of this stuff is all here. And then if you get on here, Builders Bootcamp is once a month call with my wife, but there's a Facebook page and there's videos on the Facebook page, and there's the third-party validation training is a video where you got to learn about, hey, if I put a prospect on the phone with Rick or Rosie or Leo or Joseph, what's going to be expected of me? That teaches you what's there, right? So there's all kinds of good stuff on here, and I would mess around with this, Valerie. And I was thinking that didn't I meet you once before?
Yeah, we've met several times
Yeah.
at the office in, I think it's Fontana, and then in Texas.
In Dallas, right?
Yeah.
And then we met in Upland, I think is the one.
Yeah, Upland.
So, okay, good. All right. Yeah, we're going to bring our RV down there and do some classes again, like we did back then when you met me in Upland. So.
Okay. Well, let me know I'll go on there and try to get caught up with
You
videos.
don't rush it, because,
Okay.
the only thing I want to tell Manny is I think not waiting is just keep going through it. And, I have somebody that's on there and they were bored by Ramp, and they're not selling a lot of houses either, but they wanted to be a listing agent. So they're focusing on SLAM, okay, which is the Seller Listing Agent Mastery Program. But what's nice about Ramp is it's all inclusive about being just a very well-rounded real estate agent. It's one of the reasons why we picked that program. So, okay. All right. So good to have you. All right. Does anybody else want to jump in? Miss April Wright, Mr. Sean Greer, Christopher, Peter, anybody jump in.
Hey, what's up, Rick?
Sorry. I'm sorry, Randall.
No, it's okay. Go ahead. It's fine. Ladies first, as usual.
Thank you. So I think with everything that has been taught thus far, I think for me, it's been a really eye-opener that I realized that I wasn't as detailed as I thought I was. Mm-hmm. And it's not too often I get someone that kind of lets me know that or complains. And I actually have a closing that's coming up on Tuesday. And I had, this is the first time that's happened to me, I think, in my entire career. I had a client who I thought I was being extremely detailed and extremely, on point with her. And she called my lender, who I referred my lender to, who got her deal closed in like record time, got her money, the whole thing, right? And he outshined me, and she called him and was like, you're giving me all the information, April's not giving me all the information, and I want a new realtor. And I thought it was the most interesting thing, because I keep detailed notes. So like after I have a conversation, I write my notes about what that conversation is into my CRM just for myself.
Yeah.
And everything she said I didn't do, I actually did. And Jim knows that. But because it wasn't in writing, she had nothing to reference. So it was almost like the conversation never happened.
Mhm.
And so I have 2 different checklists that I use for my team, but I don't, other than a like timeline checklist for the client, for all the details within the contract.
Yeah.
That's what the client gets. So they know the dates, the important dates.
Yeah.
But I will say that this has taught me, in conjunction with that scenario, that the clients literally need these workflows and these checklists, that I can't just go off of verbally having the consultation. Every milestone, I tell them what's the next step. And so with her, literally it was because Jim was calling her. At this point now, we've already done the appraisal, did the whole thing. So my constant contact with her every other day had gone down to about 1 contact, just like an update, because the lender is the one that's getting all the updates and documents and whatnot. And so that was the week she was just like, where'd you go? Even though I had told her this is what's going to happen. So for me, that's an eye opener. And I've actually started doing some more videos for the clients so that I could shoot that over to them and they could have something to reference, because it was really, I was like almost offended. I was like, hold on, really? I didn't do anything? So with that conversation, I kind of backtracked on everything. I said, do you remember on this date when we had this conversation? Do you remember on this date we had this conversation? Check your text messages. This is what I said, next step. And so then she was like, oh, so I just found out for that particular client, everything needed to be re-summarized in the email so she can reference back to remember. Because she literally, unbeknown to me, was freaking out after every time we had a conversation, because she didn't understand. And I'm like, well, you can't hold me liable for you telling me you understand and then you don't understand. So fixed it, did the whole thing. We're closing, she's happy. But I think the checklist that you guys have here that we're using for ourselves, I'm now turning that into a checklist for the clients as a next step, just so they have constant understanding of what's going on. So that's been helpful for me, especially after having this experience.
So
her saying that she wanted a new realtor. I was like, wow. Okay.
yeah, you're a mom too, right, April?
Yes.
Okay, of 1 or 2 or
3.
3?
Yeah.
Is there a significant other in your life?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is for April and for everyone else. This is not real estate. This is personal development. Listen to this saying that I had to learn in my 50s, very late in life. My conversation is the result I get. Remember that. My conversation is the result I get, or my conversation is the response I get. Meaning, yeah, my communication, my wife's walking by. You guys, most of you know Casey or know of her, but my communication is the response I get. That's the proper word. So if you're going to write anything down, write that down. My communication is the response I get, which puts all of the liability on you. Meaning, you already said it, right? You wrote notes, but you didn't write a note to her.
Right.
So you know now that one of the things that's going to be added to your timeline is conversation with client, email recap of conversation with client.
Yeah.
We do that on everything because I was using SkySlope in my Keller Williams offices. So I'm still using SkySlope at EXP, which is great. So EXP creates a email for every property I don't know if you guys know that.
Yeah.
At EXP, there's an email address. So it's like the property address at skyslope.com or something like that. And so everything that goes on there, any email is in the system. So that's tracking. In the old days, in the 80s, we used to have written conversation logs. April,
Right.
We had to turn in to the broker at the end of the deal. Here's my conversation log. And
Right.
that was a pain in the butt. So I really love technology. But
Yeah.
the rule about my communication is the response I get comes from this. If I communicate to someone, let's say Gina, my assistant, I say, Gina, I want you to finish this today and this today and get this today and make sure you let me know what happens with this. If I'm a responsible communicator and I am not egotistical about I'm the boss, she's the employee, then I would say, hey, Gina, I'm still, after all these years working with you, working on my communication. So repeat back to me what you heard me say so that I know you heard what I meant. And then Gina will
Yeah.
tell me, and I'll go, yep, exactly. So are we all good? Yep. Now we have agreement.
Right.
Okay. So we have agreement now, I can move forward. What's my responsibility? So like if I were on the phone with your client, you go, now, what's her first name was Mary, let's say. So Mary, listen, I'm always working on my communication, even after this many years in real estate. Could you repeat back to me what I said to you so that I am sure that you heard what I meant?
Right.
Now.
Yeah, because I end it with, do you have any questions regarding what we just talked about? And so I guess that's me thinking that that's kind of what I'm asking her.
Yeah.
And she told me that Jim would call her and later on, whether that day or the next day, and say, do you have any more questions or concerns? And then at that time, after she's been able to process or not process or understand, she doesn't understand, then she would tell him. And but I also understand too her understanding of, well, her expectations of my role in the whole thing. She thought I literally was every piece of information had to come from me, and she didn't understand the difference between the lender and the realtor. And that's actually one of the things I talk about in our buyer consultation. So I think I just have to be better at it, at identifying when the client is really lying to me that they understand, they don't understand.
Well, and that asking people if they have questions is a completely different question than a statement saying, please repeat back to me what you heard me say.
Right. Yeah.
Because now, if what comes back is literally mumbo jumbo. And you're
Yeah.
like, what? That is not like, and we want to go, what's wrong with your ears? Right? But that's an indication. But it's not a bad thing about us if what comes out is not what you said. That's the thing that we learn from. Oh, with this lady, I'm going to have to speak slower and use simpler terms. Or with this person, right? So it's an education. Now, what about our responsibility? I always tell people, once you understand the rule, my communication is the response I get, you are enlightened. If you're enlightened, the majority of the world is not enlightened, you have a responsibility. So now if you are the enlightened one, April, you understand this, and someone else says to you, hey, April, it's been super busy. Listen, I need you to do this and this and this and this. What is your responsibility as the enlightened one to say, hey, Tom, just a minute. I want to repeat back to you what I heard you say, because I want to make sure that I understood what you meant. All right. And now you repeat it back. Guess what Tom's doing? Tom's like, oh, that is what I said. And thank you for clarifying, because now you've enlightened Tom. And if we start all spreading that perspective, guess what we get? We get better listeners, better understanding, and everybody in your world's like, right? One of the reasons my marriage to Casey is so strong is we don't let shit lie.
Right.
It does just sit there and fizzle. I say, wait a minute, I'm not in a good space right now. Run by me what you said again so that I'm sure that I understood it right, because then I can process, right? It's not like I'm an Arab. Casey calls me an AA sometimes. You know what that is? That's angry Arab.
Yeah, that's what you mentioned last time.
Yeah. So if I'm going into angry Arab, which that means I'm not listening very clearly. So
Right.
she'll say, I'm going to repeat what I said. Now you tell me back what you heard, because she's probably wondering, why are you getting mad? This is not something to get mad about, right? And that's where it all gets clarified. So you don't want to ever be defensive about it. You're like, okay, she didn't understand. I'm going to repeat it. You tell me what you heard, and it's all good. So good for you for learning that lesson. And when I was younger, I lost a client because they didn't like my lender, and they thought if they didn't use my lender, then they didn't use me, because I called. It was 1996. I remember it exactly. She goes, oh, no, I didn't like Dawn at all. So I didn't know. I thought if I didn't use Dawn, I didn't get to use you. I'm like,
I've actually had a client say that, and I was like, no, absolutely not. I said, remember, you got 3 referrals from me. If that lender, if you chose them
Yeah.
to go with them, and you realize that that's not the person, then no
Right.
worries.
every time crap like that happens, April, then I add a sentence to the next time I talk to a buyer. So next time I talk to a buyer after that 96, I said, I'm going to refer you a lender that's worked well for many of my clients. If you don't like how they sound, what they say, or if something offends you, or you think this isn't the right person, call me back. I have others.
Right, absolutely. Yeah.
To clarify that. Okay,
that's
good. Thank you for sharing that with me, April. I know that is very revealing about who you are, because you want to be the best you can be, and that elevated your game completely.
Yeah.
So good for
Yeah,
you.
I actually because my son was, we were at a tournament. So when she texted me and I called her immediately and she didn't take my call. And I was like, that's odd. We've had good communication. And mind you, I've helped her for the past year before she even got to this part of it. She has a notary company. I've helped her with business and growing that business and different, business credit, all of that.
Yeah.
And everything's been so wonderful. And then to hear that, I was like, okay, there's some miscommunication somewhere. And so I called her and she didn't even answer. And I was like, oh, she's purposely not answering my call. And then she sends me this huge text message. And I said, okay, well, we're not doing this by text. Obviously, you're upset about something. And so call me when you get a chance. And so finally, I had that conversation with her. And it took about 35 minutes to kind of diffuse the situation. So I understood. But I did have to remove myself from being offended, saying, I know I did right. I know what I did for you. And so she's like, okay, now I understand. And I literally that night, I wrote out our whole conversation, reiterated, touched base on a few things. And I literally said, this is what I'm going to do moving forward. Now that I understand that that's what you're needing to make sure that you understand what we're doing moving forward. So
that's awesome. All right. Randall, I think you were going last. Go ahead.
Oh, hey, yeah, just real quick. I just wanted to, how you doing, man?
I'm
Good talking to you.
You're so kind all the time, buddy. I can't wait to see you again. Thank you for that. Go ahead.
Yeah, of course, man. So, no, I just wanted to let you know, because you asked the question on, hey, are you doing the top 50? Are you guys, how's all these things working out? And they're working out great. The top 50 thing was hard for me because I kept on focusing on people who know, like, and trust you, and will probably send you a referral the next year.
Yeah.
So I didn't know 50 people like that. So I had to go meet new people pretty much. So I did that. So I got my 50 and it's working. I actually have a listing appointment next Friday with one of my persons, top 50 who referred me their grandmother is going to list their house in Long Beach. So that's worked for me. So thanks for that. And then also the social media for last week. I've been really fighting against that. I hate doing videos, I hate doing all that stuff, but I have to fight against it. And I put actually an ad on Facebook. I did all that and I got a referral, a buyer referral. They actually called me yesterday for one of my ads, and we have a buyer's consultation tomorrow morning at 11. So is this like, basically what you're saying is, I think you said earlier, if you do these steps, if you organize yourself the best way you can and do these steps, you're going to get some sales. And I'm totally agreeing with you. So thanks. Yeah.
Good job. Good job. Who wants to go next? All right. I'm not hearing anything. All right. Well, I don't want to force anybody to go. I just want to make sure we know that if we're listening to other people's success stories, guess what? If one of us on here can do something, every one of us on here can do something. None of us is any better or worse than anyone else. We're all just agents, right? We're all going to do this same thing about selling houses. And by the way, there is so much business out there if we would just get out and be the person looking for it, right? There's miracles out there. You just have to believe they're out there and you go find them. They're not always coming to you. You got to go to them. And I'm noticing this every day. The more I put out good juju and good vibes, the more business comes my way. The same for you. In other words, let's say Carolyn and Ryan are going out door knocking, right? Guess what they're telling the universe? Guess what they're telling God? Which whenever you believe in, right? They're telling God and the universe that they're committed to their success. So what happens? Because they did that, they will they're putting out in the world that we're committed and we're doing what we said we would do, which means we're in integrity. Well, then that puts forth, like I've quoted to you, the poem by William H. Murray about when one commits. If you ever want to Google that, William H. Murray, when one commits, providence moves too. And that means that within a week or two of them going door knocking, they're going to get a lead that is totally unexpected, that had nothing to do with the door knocking. And that's the reward that the universe says for you committing to what you said you do. It happens to me all the time. I was taught that, but I never believed it, and still it started happening to me. I'd be calling my database, and then all of a sudden I'd get a referral from a real estate agent I met at a convention two years ago, right? That one had nothing to do with the other. That realtor was not in my database, but because I was doing this activity. In other words, lead generation activity begets productivity. So it's just going to happen. So the more you guys commit to your own success, and like there's times when Casey asks, Rick, this is time we're taking off with friends, don't work. But when I am working, I want to commit as much into that as possible so that when I'm not working, I don't have that guilt complex. Like April said, she's got 3 kids, right? Well, if I was coaching April, I'd say, I want you to get to the point that when you're with the kids, you're with the kids and you're not thinking about work you didn't do. That, I'm 42 years in the business and I still have trouble with that now, right? So if I'm with my work, then I'm not thinking about being guilty because I had already committed to the time with the kids, and that's later. We all have to work on that. Whatever and it doesn't have to be kids' work. It can be any 2 different priorities. April's committed to her physical health. I know that, right? Her well-being that way. So it could be that. Like I know people who work out so much, they basically aren't making money because that they're out of balance in that side of their life. I told you guys before, how many people do you know that have tons of money and they're kind of fun, happy people, but they look like they're 1 pizza slice away from a heart attack, right? So it's balance, guys. So anyway, all right. Mike Deblack, I think I saw a chat from you, but I didn't read it. Something about 6 escrows. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, sorry, I was out doing stuff with the kids. Yeah, since we started, I just I don't know, just blew up. I don't know. It's a good busy, and I don't know, just build momentum.
Good for you, buddy. Yeah, and I know you're a hard worker and you're committed to your success. Good for you. Are you making calls or it's just stuff coming out of the wall?
So just like a lot of investor deals, or 3 of them are like investor deals. My brother-in-law is an investor wholesaler type guy. So I got 3 deals with him and then 3 for my sphere.
Yeah.
Well, the 3 escrows for my sphere, and then the listing agreement is also for my sphere.
Nice. Good job. Good job. Well, congratulations to all of you on being on here. I hope you'll tell other people to get on here. Look, if you came into EXP, you know people, probably in EXP and in the same organization. I don't want people on here because I get paid something for it. I want people on here because I want them to know there's an answer to their frustrations, okay? It's as simple as that, right? We're all paying, me too, paying Workman Success Systems $149 a year to be involved in this a year. It was regularly about $3,000, give or take. So it's a 95% discount. Just tell everybody there's answers here, right? That's all we want. So, and there's I think we have over 200 people signed up for this, but only fewer that are getting on the call. So hopefully they're using it to their benefit, but be supportive to others. And the best way, Tony Robbins says this, the final step to self-mastery is teaching. And what that means is take what you've learned and share it with someone else. And while you're sharing it, in the act of it coming out of your mouth, you're going to start to realize whether it's cemented in you or not, based on how much you know when you're trying to communicate it to others. So find somebody today and say, guess what I learned today? Want to learn what I learned? And go from there. So, all right. It's late in the day. I love you guys. Have a great weekend. And I'll see you here on next Friday, which will be the 5th, I believe, of November. All right. Take care, guys.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you, Rick.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Rick.